Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they pledge you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week we are back in Fraggle Rock to discuss the episodes that aired in February of 1983. And those are the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th episodes of Season 1, entitled The 30-Minute Workweek, The Preachification of Convincing John, I Want to Be You, and The Terrible Tunnel. But that's not all, because Jim and Frank were up to some other things in February of 1983. They had to promote The Dark Crystal in the UK. So we also watched a couple of TV appearances on Russell Hardy and Good Morning Britain. But first, before we get to that, it won't sound like it to you, but we just took, a couple weeks off from recording. And Sam, it's been 3 weeks since we last recorded.
Do you have any idea what you said about Fraggle Rock the first time that we talked about it 3 weeks ago?
Pretty sure I liked it.
I think so too, but I can't remember any specific stuff. So if we repeat ourselves a lot, sorry.
Yeah, there might be some of that because I hadn't watched any Fraggle Rock in about 3 weeks, and I hadn't talked about Fraggle Rock in about 3 weeks. So it was kind of all new to me again. Even though we recorded the last episode before the end of the year, we didn't talk about, wrapping up 2022 or coming into 2023. And so I wanted to review some of our goals, predictions, resolutions that we had for 2022.
Oh, we made those?
We did. Our first episode of 2022, I sprung it on you, asking if you had any podcast resolutions for 2022. You got very upset that I sprung that on you, and even more upset that I didn't have any answers prepared for myself.
I kind of remember that.
So I wanted to sort of review what we were kind of hoping would happen, see what, if anything, actually happened, and then maybe, if we have any inside of us, thinking of our predictions and goals and resolutions for the next year.
Do you have any this year?
Probably not, but we'll see.
Oh, my God.
So, last year, your first one, Sam, was you said you wanted to stick to your editing schedule.
I don't even think I did for one day.
And you also said you wanted to meet Rolf and potentially bite his nose.
That one could still happen. Not really anything I have any power or control over, except that this show becomes extremely popular.
I mean, we also said that we wanted to interact with the Muppets or someone close to the Muppets in some way in 2022. Which, the closest I could really think of is you did get a tweet from Rolf about biting his nose.
That's pretty close.
Yeah.
That's 50% of the way there.
You tweeted at Rolf about wanting to bite his nose, and he said, I'm flattered but not edible. My mother always said, just say nose.
I don't want to eat his nose. So stupid. I just want to give it a little bite.
You got to be clear in your intentions, and that you will just stop at the nibble and not...
I'm going to respond to that tweet right now.
Like 6 months later and be like, hey, I didn't say I wanted to eat your nose.
I think you misunderstood me.
Yeah.
Well, and you didn't have any.
Well, I think the wanting to interact with a Muppet or someone else in an official capacity was, I think, mine.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't really do that. We're getting a little closer this year with some of our guests that we might have lined up.
That's a 5-year plan, more than a 1-year plan, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit ambitious, but, I'd rather have an ambitious resolution than like a, hey, I hope we record next week. That's my resolution. You're not
actually supposed to do that. It's bad for you to have an ambitious resolution. You're supposed to have a bunch of little ones that you'll achieve.
Well, with that being said, Sam, we should set some of those small ones.
I want to stick to my editing schedule.
Well, uh-oh.
Oh, shit, I'm already really late on the episode that goes up tomorrow. I really do. That would be great. I have this, and I'm sure I said the same thing last year. I have the schedule written down that's like, edit now, do this now. And I'm trying to do this at work too. I'm just fucked, basically. My whole brain. I just do things like my brain feels like a Magic 8 Ball, where different things just like rise to the surface of this murky water. And it's like, it's all in there and I don't forget stuff very often, but it's just like, now do this. And I never am thinking like 4 steps ahead like I should be. And then I'm constantly just being like, Sam, from yesterday, you could have like not done that stupid thing for an hour and just edited, and then you'd have like 4 free hours today. But I never do. So,
That's pretty similar to my ADHD experience. Is that it's like the Magic 8 Ball, but it's like somebody shaking it like every 30 seconds.
oh,
Where it's like, work on that email, and then 30 seconds later it's like, but what about that video you have to watch? And it's like, but what about that other email? But what about that Slack message? But what about that thing? And it's like, and then so by the end of the day I have 20 things half done. But yeah, so editing schedule, sticking to that in 2023, it's a pretty good goal. I think one of our goals in 2023 should be getting some more merch out there.
I think about this all the time, and you know, we'll do it. Okay, I want to do it really bad, and that is it's in my brain. I'm saying like by the end of January, I'm gonna have some stuff. I'm gonna show it to Matt, and he'll say, "Great," and then we'll make $1 million. And then we can just buy Rolf and buy his nose.
At least buy a Rolf, not maybe the Rolf. Maybe like there's a past Rolf that goes up for auction or something.
Yeah. Merch for sure. That's something I really want to do. There's something else I really want to do that I don't even want to talk about, but Matt will know what I'm talking about. Wink.
I don't think I do, but yes, Sam.
A Patreon-related thing that I think would be really exciting.
Okay.
And I actually have merch related to that in my head too. So
interesting.
It could be a whole media empire in which we get many cease and desists
from multiple people,
companies,
including
one that's recently cracked down extremely
hard. One that I didn't think we would have previously gotten a cease and desist from, but in the last couple of weeks decided, you know what, we're going to be dicks now.
We'll just go against the whole ethos of our entire company up until this point. So maybe
you know the thing that's made us popular for the last 10 years? What if we said, no, we can't do that anymore.
Not even the last 10 years, like since like the 70s.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, I think
people can deduce what I'm talking about. But.
I am very excited about that idea. I am worried about how much that will take over our lives.
I don't think it will. And you don't have to do anything.
Okay. You said wink and also winked. So I saw and heard you. But yeah, no, I think doing that thing and also having merch related to that thing would be very exciting.
Yeah, me too. What? So you're just stealing all mine, basically?
I'm just repeating them for the audience so they can keep up with our...
That's Matt's New Year's resolution. Have an original thought in his head.
I believe I said merch.
And I actually just echoed that one. So...
Honestly, most of my resolutions are like back of house, housekeeping kind of things that no one really sees.
Cleaning up spreadsheets and stuff like that.
Yeah, and finding more of the things that I thought were hidden, or just, getting our schedule actually scheduled out more than a few months in advance. Yeah. Booking some of the guests who said once they were like, hey, I'd like to be on that podcast. And I said, cool, can you do it this month? And then they never responded. I should follow up with them.
That'll happen with the guest, you know?
Yeah. But we do have a couple cool guests coming up in the next couple months that are actually locked in, scheduled, replied to the calendar invite. So I know those ones are happening.
Yeah. But you know what? Mostly I'm just excited to spend this year with my friend Matt talking about the Muppets.
Mostly Fraggle Rock.
A lot of Fraggle Rock and a little bit of Muppet Babies, too.
Yeah, near the end, we'll probably get into Muppet Babies a bit more. But we got a couple seasons of Fraggle Rock to get through first.
We are watching Muppets Take Manhattan this year, right?
Yes. Yeah, we have some other Muppety things. But yeah, we're not going to see a ton of our old pals this year.
That's all right. I need a break from them.
Well then, Sam, speaking of the Fraggles, what did we watch this week?
This week, as Matt said, we watched 4 episodes of Fraggle Rock, all airing in February of 1983. In the first episode, called The 30-Minute Work Week, we find Wimbley fretting over an important decision. Fraggles, the responsible creatures that they are, work an extremely rigorous 30 minutes a week, and there comes a time in every Fraggle's life when they have to choose what job they'll do. So it's Wimbley's time to choose his job, but he's got no idea what he wants to be. Gobo, the big jerk that he is, decides that the only way to get Wimbley to choose is via tough love and kicks him out of the house until he makes up his mind. So Wimbley goes to see the trash heap, who proposes many jobs that Wimbley does not like, before confessing that she always wanted to be a firefighter. So Wimbley thinks that sounds really fun and rushes off to pledge his services to the volunteer fire department. He's nervous that he'll be rejected, but they accept him gladly and give him the job of siren, I guess because he got a loud, annoying voice. Meanwhile, above ground, Doc tries... He's the orc version of Doc. Doc tries to get Sprocket to choose what he wants for breakfast and lunch, but Sprocket is so bad at choosing that by bedtime he hasn't chosen or eaten anything. The moral of the story being not being able to make up your mind is super annoying. Next up, the preachification of Convincing John. In this episode, we get to know Moki, who is sweet, gentle, observant, but also tends to get on her high horse a little bit. She loves observing the Doozers and trying to figure out what their deal is, and one day while doing so, she decides that it is rude that the Fraggles are always eating the Doozers' constructions. So she stops eating them and uses the Oath of the Fraggle to force her friends to do the same. Eventually, she decides that she needs all the Fraggles to stop eating the buildings, so she finds Convincing John, who's a sort of insane televangelist Fraggle who can get anyone to do anything. He comes to Fraggle Rock and sings a song to convince all the Fraggles to take an oath to stop eating the buildings, which they all do. But within a few days, the Doozers have built so much that the Fraggles can't really move around or do that much anymore. So they beg Moki to lift the oath, something only she can do, but she refuses, and she gets mad and she starts to leave Fraggle Rock. But on her way out, she overhears Doozers lamenting that they also have to leave because there's no room left to build anything, and apparently if they can't build stuff, they will die. I didn't quite understand the logic there, but...
I mean, I'm hoping eventually we might get more of an explanation on that, but it did, like, there was a mother Doozer just talking to her daughter saying, like, well, if we don't build, we'll die. And then they just sort of move on from that pretty quickly.
They don't seem to eat anything, so maybe there's some kind of power they gain from... I don't know. But
I think we'll learn a lot more about all the characters in Fraggle Rock throughout the years.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of our questions will be answered in some way. Not as, directly as we might be hoping in some ways, but I'm sure we'll see something. Like, I mean, honestly, I was thinking this watch through when in the theme song, when the Doozers say dancing's for another day, I'm like, will we ever get an episode where the Doozers get to dance?
See, what I'm thinking is that there'll be an episode where we see the Doozers 30-minute break per week,
Well, I think they have
do nothing for 30 minutes.
I know in the new series Back to the Rock, I think they get like a 1-minute break.
Okay. Maybe they get 31-minute breaks throughout the week or something.
Maybe, yeah. But they throw like a little dance party where there's a Daft Punk Doozer.
Oh, no.
He's amazing.
I don't know if I like that.
It's very good.
Well, anyway, Moki lifts the oath, and everyone goes hog wild eating Doozer constructions, so the Doozers end up staying. Above ground, Doc is trying to sew a button on an egg for some reason, and he is ignoring Sprocket, who is very hungry. Doc eventually figures out how to sew the button on the egg, and then he makes Sprocket eat the button egg.
He does tell him avoid the button.
Yeah, but he's been handling that egg all day. It's a nasty egg, and it's frozen too. So there's multiple morals here. One, it's not easy to understand other people's problems, but it's easy to think you do, which Doc just comes out and says the moral for this one. And also, don't trust authority figures unquestioningly, I think is another good one. Because Convincing John sings a song about not eating Doozer constructions, then about 2 minutes later sings a song about how great it is to eat Doozer constructions. Next in the episode, I Want to Be You, we get even more Moki being annoyingly perfect, and this time it's driving Red nuts. Everyone loves everything Moki does, but Red's basically got to beg to get them to watch any of her stunts that she does. So Red goes to ask the trash heap for help on how to get her friends to pay more attention to her, but then the trash heap gets a little fixated on how interesting and cool Moki sounds, which drives Red to decide that she needs to be just like Moki. So she lets her hair down, changes her voice, and tries to paint and do poetry, but she's so bad at it that Boober thinks that she's dying of a horrible illness. Gobo and Moki are worried, so they go and ask the trash heap what she said to Red, but on their way back, they get caught by Junior Gorg. Luckily, Red was out collecting radishes, which is Moki's 30 minutes a week job, and sees this transpire, and she uses her pluck and ingenuity that only she possesses to save her friends. Then Red decides that it's better to be herself well instead of being someone else badly. Above ground, Doc and Sprocket are trying to figure out costumes for a costume party. They're having kind of a tough time, and then they decide to go as each other. And it's very cute, except Doc's a little scary, but it's still pretty cute. Sprocket looks really cute in his little clothes.
But I mean, if you had to make a Sprocket costume at home,
Yeah.
and you know didn't have that many
Only had
materials
paper,
and like
I guess.
half a day,
Yeah.
that's a pretty good Sprocket costume that Doc makes.
I guess I was a dog for Halloween, and it only took me about 30 minutes, and mine was less creepy than his.
Did you make your costume?
I made the belly of it.
Okay.
I had a onesie.
Yeah.
You know? Doc could have gone and bought a onesie.
They weren't as popular for adults back in the 80s.
That is probably sadly very true. We've regressed a bit in some ways, but progressed in many, many others.
in most of the important ways,
Yeah.
we have definitely progressed.
We are giant babies who need our diapers changed, but also there's a lot of great stuff too. So the moral of that episode was it's hard to pretend to be something you aren't. And also the moral is, hey, be nice to Red, you know? Moki's way cooler than Red, but you still gotta be nice to Red. Finally, in the terrible tunnel, the Fraggles go and see the storyteller, who knows all the stories of the past of Fraggle Rock. She tells them the tale of the terrible tunnel, a tunnel hidden away somewhere in Fraggle Rock that sucked up a bunch of Fraggles either 1,000 years ago or 33 years ago. She's not really sure. These Fraggles were saved by Sir Blunderbrain, who died in the process. She ends the tale with a warning to stay away from the terrible tunnel. When they get back, the Fraggles that we know, our friend Fraggles, find the other Fraggles playing Heidi Ho, which is basically Marco Polo. And on Wembley's turn, he has his blindfold on, and he follows a particularly ghostly voice. And then he takes his blindfold off to find that he has wandered into the terrible tunnel. Which there's just like a big thing that sucks you in the terrible tunnel. So he almost gets sucked into a hole, but he escapes and runs off to tell his friends. And they don't believe him because Wembley has an overactive imagination and is basically a moron. But he leads them back to the terrible tunnel. They all almost get killed and decide that this time Wembley knew what he was talking about for once. But Wembley forgives them for doubting him because he's never known what he was talking about before. So he kind of understands why they wouldn't believe him in the first place. Above ground, Sprocket. This is a sad one. Sprocket brings Doc a horseshoe that he thinks Doc will like. Doc basically says this horseshoe is bullshit and throws it on the ground. Then, immediately after that, Doc realizes that he needs something exactly horseshoe-shaped to finish an invention that he's making. So he's got to beg for Sprocket's forgiveness so he can have the horseshoe back. And the moral of this episode is even your dumbest friend is right every now and then.
Okay.
What do you think the moral is?
I don't think that's. I think it's like maybe a version of the moral about like trusting people, listening
even
to
your
your
dumbest
friends.
friend, even your dumbest one.
I don't.
But you gotta doubt them a little bit because they're usually wrong. You know.
I mean, they do say verbatim. Let's be honest. You never know what you're talking about. It's just the way you are.
Yeah. And then Wembley says, "Yeah, I know. You're right."
Yeah, there's so much in this batch of episodes where Wembley is just repeating other people.
Uh-huh.
Like sometimes even trying to do like an impression of them after they've just said something. Of like as if like that helps him understand what they've just said. Is like if he just repeats the word, he's like, yeah, I get it now.
I actually forgot to write up the two other things we watched, but they were basically Jim and Frank, like Matt said, promoting Dark Crystal on various British television shows. One hosted by Russell Hardy, which was cool because they went to the sets and they had puppets come out and scared a bunch of children really badly. There was one kid who was just like frozen in terror, basically. As
That's
the
fair. It was
beetle.
very,
Like,
very scary.
and he was swinging his claw a little close to him.
Little
that
close.
person in that suit does not know how close that claw is to those
They couldn't
kids.
see anything.
But the kids are like jumping over the seats into hopefully their parents' laps. I don't know whose laps they're jumping into. So yeah, they bring out a bunch of props and they're talking about the world of the Dark Crystal. Russell Hardy's asking some completely insane questions about Miss Piggy being mad at them and like, I don't remember. There was some other dumb thing he said.
Yeah, so this is Russell Hardy aired on February 15th, 1983.
Oh, I remember when he said he was like, you used puppets once long ago. And Jim and Frank both make like, what the fuck are you talking about faces? And he's like, you made a commercial once. And then they show one of the Wilkins and Wilkins ads. And they're like, yeah, we made like 200 of those.
Yeah, basically Russell Hardy seems to know a lot about Lord Lou Grade and a little bit about the Muppets.
He knows a lot about Lord Lou. He probably knows that guy.
I think he was a very famous guy in England. But the Muppets also previously appeared on Russell Hardy's show back in 1977. And I went back and watched it, and I can't remember if we watched that clip back then. Like when we talked about it, honestly escaped my memory. I think we might have to do an episode coming up where we like go back and catch some of those clips that slip through our fingers. But I honestly can't remember if we talked about that man or that show before. What I thought was interesting about this is not only did they have like the sets and the characters and stuff there, but you got to see sort of what. So Frank gets very excited about the Gartham at one point. Like they ask him about the Gartham, he's like, "These guys are so cool." But yeah, Russell Hardy, he seems to think Miss Piggy's a real person and is a living being who is upset with Jim and Frank for deciding to make a movie that didn't star her. Which previously, I feel like we had an interviewer on like the Today Show or Entertainment Tonight ask something similar to that of like, is Miss Piggy jealous? But they let it go. After the one jokey answer. Russell Hardy keeps coming back to the fact that like Miss Piggy must be really mad.
Yeah. Where's Miss Piggy now? Tell me.
Well, and like he's also doing a poor job of asking the question because he's sort of like stating it as a fact that they're supposed to agree with. Because he doesn't say like, was Miss Piggy mad? He says, and Miss Piggy was wasn't very happy.
Piggy was mad that you guys had to move to New York or whatever.
And Jim and Frank are just like, what? What's happening? And Russell Hardy says something about like the Muppet side of the Dark Crystal, and Jim's like, I can't see the similarities between the Dark Crystal and the Muppets. Like people say it, I just can't see it.
Yeah,
he describes
kind of
it
like
as,
they're basically Muppets, right? Jim?
Yeah, that's what, like as soon as Jim says I can't see the similarities, even when people say it, he's like, yeah, but they're pretty similar.
They're Muppets.
But then a mystic strolls out on set.
That was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool, but it's bizarre to see it with people around.
Yeah.
Like
I thought it made it cooler to see it with people around. It looks so convincing.
It did feel more real, like seeing it just walk out there, especially when it's, like we have full body characters like Thog and Sweetums and stuff come out on set sometimes, but like I can see the human in that.
It's
like,
just a big guy in a suit.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the way that mystics walk, I understand that there's a human doing that, but it also looks like something I could never do. So I'm also like, that's a real guy to me.
And I turned around on Russell Hardy at this point because he was kind of like, I can't even figure out how there's a human in there. And I'm talking to what I know is this person's hand, but I don't actually know where the rest of him is. And then he's like, how do they see out of that? And Frank's like, I actually have no idea.
He starts to try to explain it. And he's like, well, I actually don't know. Which is surprising considering we saw behind the scenes footage of Frank like teaching the people how to do these things.
Yeah.
And apparently he never asked, hey, can you see?
Allegedly, they have TV screens in there. I guess I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't actually have TV screens in there.
Yeah. But they bring the whole dang banquet table from the Skeksis castle to the set of Russell Hardy. And Jim, Frank, Russell Hardy, and us Skeksis are hanging out at the banquet table.
It's so funny to see them sitting in their suits and they're teeny tiny in those big chairs, and they're just like, hello.
Yeah, it definitely like breaks the illusion a little bit seeing them there. But I did like that they talked about the little scurrying like spider-like creatures and how Jim said it was like a 40-cent toy they got at the store and just
40p, please.
Well, yeah. I translated it for our American listeners, Sam. And at the end, you think it's done. Jim and Frank go away. A wall comes down to close away the set. Seems like Russell Hardy is moving on to the next segment. But alas, a Gartham breaks through the frickin' wall. And that's really their only skill. And terrifies Russell Hardy and the children in the audience.
Yeah, the whole front row is like children. I'm sure it's just like so excited to see Jim, and then a big bug comes and screams at him, and they look actually very scared, and they're running away.
I mean, as you said, he gets surprisingly close to that front row in a way where I'm like, it feels like maybe a little too close there, dude.
The interview at the beginning was bad, but I think the rest of it was really fun to watch once they started bringing stuff out. I wasn't expecting that, and it was really cool.
But yeah, Jim and Frank also go on to appear on February 17th, 1983 on Good Morning Britain, in which the woman who's introducing them here, whose name I did not
Anna
see?
Ford, I believe, is what it said in the description, at least.
Okay, I didn't see that. She introduces it with, now a treat for all of you who delight in that divine swine, Miss Piggy and her friends Fozzie Bear and Kermit. which
It's a
is
great intro.
a pretty good intro.
Yeah.
And she points out, much like Sam pointed out in our Dark Crystal
Yes.
episode, that Agra reminds her of Miss Piggy.
And Jim and Frank are like, "What are you, stupid?"
Yeah, Frank says he's surprised.
She looks just like Miss Piggy, and she also acts just like Miss Piggy. So I don't know.
But it is interesting to get that context of like how famous Miss Piggy really has become at this
Yeah.
point, because even like near the end of this interview, she says, "I have to ask you how Miss Piggy is," and it's like, I guess you do.
Not real. Everybody. Jim and
She's
Frank
in
are
a
so
box
worried.
right now.
Yeah.
And I love that like Frank always has like a slightly different answer for what's going on. Like on Russell Hardy, he says something about like her and Kermit hanging out, but in this one, he alludes to like that her and Kermit are on like a beach vacation. And Jim's like, "Hey, now,
Yes,
I don't think they
excuse
would be."
Those dudes gotta get on the same page.
No,
I also like that she
I think
asked
they
him,
know exactly what page each of them are on, and I think Frank just constantly wants to fuck with Jim.
I thought it was funny too that Anna Ford asked if they can still do all the voices. It's like that same year I think they have made Muppet things.
Yeah. But apparently on the same day they did this one, they also appeared on Blue Peter, which is a thing that I could not find any clips from. They appear on Blue Peter multiple times through the years, and I haven't
Is
been
that
able
a
to find.
kid show?
Yeah, so Blue Peter is a long-running BBC TV show for children that has been airing since October of 1958.
British people name their stuff really weird.
I mean,
Don't
it's,
they?
I believe it's named after a flag. If I remember, like there's a Blue Peter
Oh, it's
flag.
like a nautical flag.
I
or
think it's a
something like
nautical
that.
thing. But yeah, apparently Louise Gold, Tim Jones, and David Barclay went on Blue Peter to perform some of the podlings and did a little podling dance.
That's cute.
Yeah, and they also showed some more behind the scenes of like how the podlings work.
Do you just put your hand in them and go like that? Is that how they work?
Maybe there's a little bit more to it than that.
I also had a little bit more about what happened in 1983.
Ooh, what
February,
happened?
Elsewhere in the world, Karen Carpenter of the Carpenters sadly passed away on February 4th. Michael Jackson's album Thriller hits #1 on February 28th and would go on to become the best-selling album of all time, which it still is. And also in February of 1983, Styx releases the album Kilroy Was Here, which is the album that has Mr. Roboto on it. And on TV, the final episode of MASH aired on February 28th, which was watched by 125 million people and was the most watched TV broadcast until the 2010 Super Bowl, which is such a boring thing to unseat the finale of MASH, right?
Yeah.
So then, also in my unexpert opinion, the end of MASH officially signals the death of the 70s, I would say. I think this is the end of the 70s, based on no information at all, just a gut feeling completely. And also in movie world, David Cronenberg's Videodrome and Martin Scorsese's King of Comedy were also released. Realize there's a lot of like really important movies that we totally skipped over in the Muppet Show years, especially like Martin Scorsese movies, but oh well. They came out. You can look it up yourself.
Yeah. And the King of Comedy is pretty fun
Yeah.
in like a
that's
dark
good one.
way.
Yeah. And it's the basis of the Joker.
It's just the same movie.
Except way better. The King of Comedy is so much better.
Yes. And Robert De Niro is much better and has more
Yeah.
to do. And you
Yeah.
don't have to see the Joker. So it's a win-win. The other thing that happened during this time that the only thing I could find from Jim's Red Book online, because that site is like super dead now, it seems like.
Rest in peace. That was a good
Yeah.
site too.
I still hold out hope that they
It'll come
might.
back sometime.
Yeah. And when it does, I will download all of it to a PDF that I will never
Yeah.
delete. But it is it's like a 404 error page now where it's super broken. So that's a bummer. But I was able to find an entry from February 7th, 1983, where Jim wrote Fraggling in Toronto, which
Don't write that, Jim.
which I have to assume meant that he was there filming Fraggle Rock in Toronto.
I hope so.
But the Jim Henson Red Book site provided some extra context underneath that post about the way that Fraggle Rock would work. And if you read the visual guide book that I've talked about a few times on this podcast, they go into this in there as well. But one of the big things that made Fraggle Rock work was the new technology of the day and the way they were able to communicate with each other. Because Jocelyn Stevenson, who is a writer on Fraggle Rock, helped create the show, had recently moved from London to Wales.
Are they emailing each other?
Kind of.
Okay, continue. Sorry.
Jerry Jewell was living in California. Larry Merkin and the production were in Toronto, and Jim was in New York. So they were like, how do we do this? Apparently, Jerry Jewell was a big Apple enthusiast. And so
Like the computer.
Yes, not the fruit.
Okay. So they put notes in apple crates and mailed them all around the country to each other.
Like homing pigeons, but just like, I hope this works. Jim, I need you to go buy apples today. But apparently Jerry figured out that there was a way to send data through phone lines.
Did Jerry Jewell invent email?
I don't think so.
So they could write Fraggle Rock?
Apparently this was some way of sending data through the phone lines that I, even after reading about it, barely understood. But it was essentially the way they would use the phones. Like, you had to call each other, and then there was, like, tones and bips and boops and bops that would, like, go through the phone lines.
Oh, yeah. That was like you'd like, what's that movie? War Games, maybe?
Yeah, that
Where
is a movie.
Clicks a receiver into some kind of speaker that hears the beeps and boops. And
I believe that's
something
exactly
out.
what this was.
Right.
And this is, 83 is the same year War Games came out, so that technology was...
Jerry's like, I saw a great movie. Maybe.
I mean, to be fair, he would have been doing this before War Games came out. So maybe War Games was like, hey, we heard about this Jerry Jewell guy. So it basically 8 to 10 pages of text could be sent at a time, and it took about 30 minutes to transmit 8 to 10 pages.
Back then, that was great. They didn't know any better.
Yeah, it was, their alternative was mailing scripts to each other across the ocean.
In apple crates.
But there was also back then no script writing software, and there was no compatible software for Apple computers. And so when Larry Merkin would get the data on his PC, all the formatting would disappear.
No. We're still having those kind of issues today, I feel like, though.
Yeah.
You know?
There was also, because of the big time differences, and the transmission had to be monitored the entire time to make sure it worked, they couldn't just do this overnight or anything. Somebody had to be there making sure that it was working, because there was also no technical support to call for this technology.
Right.
But yeah, Larry Merkin went on to explain that even though this technology was super rudimentary, he said that they could not have done Fraggle Rock without this technology. Because of the way they had to collaborate with everybody. And Jocelyn Stevenson said, in the end, it wasn't really that complicated. 5 or 6 easy steps. I offered to write British Telecom a pamphlet telling people how to do it, but they scoffed. They thought I was a lone lunatic.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
They were working remotely.
And back then, people were like, what a dumb idea. No one will be doing that in 40 years.
Well, they didn't want to move to Canada so badly that they invented email.
Well, getting into the Canadian side of this and the Fraggle Rock side of this, Sam, you still feeling good about Fraggle Rock?
Yeah, I think it just hits all of the things I love, like goofy characters in a setting that's really well established. Very it's like The Simpsons. Anything that reminds me even remotely of The Simpsons, I will love. And I just love how stupid everybody is and how they're just making it work down there in that hole. How about you?
Yeah, same. I do love... I didn't realize how much I would love having recurring stories with the same characters in the same setting with the same personalities that we just haven't really seen in the Muppet world that much, because we've gotten like the movies, which are obviously like a long version of that. But we have the Muppet Show where we kind of get that, but there's so many inconsistencies in the characters throughout that. And also because they're putting on a show every week, not everyone gets to be featured in the same kind of way.
Yeah. And it does sound petty, but like when something comes up that flies in the face of something else you've learned about the Muppets, you're like, well, now wait a minute. How does that make any sense? And we're like watching it a way you're not supposed. It was not intended to be watched. The way we're watching it, but
most people are watching 1 week at a time and not catching every episode. So when they would see an episode where somebody did something out of character, they just be like, I guess that's who they are.
Yeah.
But I think I'm also starting to, now that we've like spent a little bit more time with it, starting to notice that like the puppeteering on Fraggle Rock is also amazing.
The Terrible Tunnel episode had some great shit going on in it, I thought.
Yeah, and the Fraggle faces have so much expression and like subtlety to them, and the way they're manipulated. Like I feel like so many of them have that like Kermit scrunchiness to their faces that they can really get some good expressions going.
Yeah.
And one thing I thought this time, I was like, the ending theme is almost just as good as the opening theme song.
I listen to both of them every time.
Yeah, I'm like sometimes Apple TV will cut off the end theme and go into the next episode,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, dang it,
What? Wait a minute.
I like that.
Yeah, I want to listen to that. The Fraggle Rock and Muppet Show both have all-time perfect theme songs. That's like one. If the Muppet Show didn't do anything else right, it nailed the theme song, and it did do a lot of else right. But
How are you feeling about Doc and Sprocket?
I love Doc and Sprocket. I feel like that they're in a different show, like they're in some kind of other version of Alf or something happening above ground, and it's so funny that sometimes they try to make their story like link into the underground story, but it's so tenuous most of the time, and it's just like, what are you guys doing up there? But I love Sprocket's such a great puppet that I wouldn't give him up for the world.
Yeah, the puppet itself and the puppeteering behind Sprocket are both amazing. The going back to the expressions you get out of these puppets, I think Sprocket is one of the most expressive of any of the puppets. And
Muppets are the best Muppets. That's why.
Yeah, he's definitely got some like Rufus energy to him, in the way he gets to be very nearly human in a lot of his reactions, but doesn't speak and doesn't go over that line of like, that's just a man in a dog costume.
And I like that Doc also like treats him with the respect that he deserves, basically. Like he treats him like his little buddy, not like his dog. Sometimes he's like his dog, but
no, yeah, they're like the perfect pairing of like a man who's maybe not as smart as most other men, and a dog
and deeply lonely as well.
Yeah, and a dog who is much smarter than your average dog.
Yeah.
But I agree that I think like sometimes their stories, I'm like, why was that there? Why did that happen? And then other times it's very clearly like tied to the moral, the message of the episode.
Right.
And then that makes me go back and look at the other episodes and I say like, I guess that was tied to it's like the Doc and Sprocket, the Fraggle Rock story, and the Uncle Traveling Matt stories always have like at least a loose thread throughout them.
I do like when the Uncle Traveling Matt stories give them a piece of information that then they can use to, like the Umbrella episode. That's like a good example of a Traveling Matt where he's like learning about the world and then helping them get through issues too. So those can feel more tied in together. But like by definition, Doc and Sprocket aren't allowed to interact with the Fraggles. So it's a little bit more tricky.
Yeah, because like you said, the Uncle Traveling Matt, there's some hits and misses in this batch.
Oh, there was such a bad one this time. Yeah.
Well, so there's one though, at least I don't know if this is one of the good ones or bad ones that you liked or didn't like, but he goes to a farm.
That one was kind of scary.
Yeah, so in episode 7, the I Want to Be You episode, this is the one where Red wants to be like Moki. Uncle Traveling Matt goes to a farm, sees some terrifying pigs, and wants to blend in, and so he puts on a pig disguise.
He also falls in the mud and gets all muddy. I hate a muddy Muppet.
Yeah, he gets real grimy. But at the end of this, he says, it's always difficult being something you're not.
Yes.
And this episode is all about disguises. Like, you have Doc and Sprocket doing the costume contest stuff, and then you have Red trying to be Moki, and then you have the message coming from Uncle Traveling Matt. And that was one where I feel like they nailed it. They included the moral there.
It's a really clean moral too. Like it's a good moral to build an episode around.
And I think the one thing this is not new information to most people who have watched Fraggle Rock before, but the way Fraggle Rock can like slide in a moral without you even they're not beating you over the head with it. Like, hey, kid, it's not, you shouldn't do that. Like, they show you through, actions a lot more than they do through the language of just, you see Red trying to be Moki, and you see how her friends are like, hey, what's wrong with you? You're not being Red, and we like Red. And I think, they do that so often and so well that it jumps out to me more when they miss that mark, or most interestingly, the first episode we watched this week was the 30-minute work week, which was the first episode they produced. It was the pilot, essentially.
Interesting.
Yeah, which I think makes a lot of sense because there's not a single moral or lesson to be learned in that episode, I don't think.
That one is very, I hate to beat this drum again, but I think The Simpsons can do what you said well, where it's, not beating you over the head, but it's this is why Homer is a good dad. This is what being a family is about, or, this is what being a brother is about. This is about loving each other. But then they also have episodes where it's this almost is something, but it's actually nothing at all, and that's kind of the joy of it, is how absurd it is. I like that about this one, that the end moral was, nothing. It was just like,
Just, hey, sometimes make a fucking decision.
yeah.
Like, that's the lesson in this episode is, hey, sometimes you just gotta do shit to get
Yeah.
shit done. You can't just sit around and wait for things to happen. But they
So
don't.
did you not like that one?
I just thought it was like a little bit weaker than the other ones we've watched so far. And I think like, if I don't know, I feel like some of the jokes and performances are also a little bit off in that episode.
Yeah.
Um,
Not knowing that it was the first one produced, I didn't catch any of that personally, but
I feel like some of the way the characters are interacting in that one, they're a little bit more like jokey, pally, kind of in a way that they aren't necessarily in later episodes. That just like, there's a point at which I don't remember what it is, but like when Wembley has to pick a job, they're all going back into like the area where they sleep, and they're all sort of like poking and prodding at each other in a way that just feels not like the Fraggles that we have seen elsewhere.
mm-hmm.
That being
I
said,
liked that part.
Mm.
I thought they seemed very real in that part.
I mean, there are some good quotes in there where Boober says, "Tedium and drudgery are good for the soul."
I think it's just so funny, like the concept of them. It's so obvious that they're gonna say it, but then when they're like, "Oh yeah, you got to put in your 30 minutes a week of work," because the whole time it's like Fraggles don't do shit. What are they talking about? And it's like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because they talk about work as if it's like the most important thing. Like Gobo says, life isn't all fun and games. Red says work is an enriching experience. But again, 30 minutes a week, which I can't tell if they do 30 minutes once or if they spread out that 30 minutes over the week.
Oh, I don't know if I don't think they really keep track of it either, probably. Like Red's job is swimming, I believe.
Yeah, so Moki gathers radishes, which
is a real job.
pretty
Yeah.
important. Gobo basically has to explore the
He's an
caves.
explorer, yeah.
Boober's doing laundry.
He doesn't say that though, does he, in this one?
I believe so.
Okay.
I think he talks about because they say something about him having the most boring job, and for some reason Wembley hasn't picked yet, even though everyone else seems to have been doing their jobs for quite a while.
He's maybe the youngest one by a year or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, Red's job does just seem to be diving and splashing into the water to keep it clean.
Well, maybe yeah. You gotta agitate, so that the scum doesn't build up on the surface.
But she's putting her body in it.
Yeah, well, maybe Fraggles are like the inside of dog mouths. They're clean.
It sounded like Red got away with like faking a job. It's like, oh yeah, no, my job is doing exactly what I like doing in my time off.
Well, I think they also say that a job could be like singing a song or something in the song that they're singing, right? I'm pretty sure your job can just be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, you just have to pick. Gobo in that song, by the way, called Workin', references Pappy and Mama, who told him to explore. So, at some point,
He didn't
had
have
parents.
to choose. He got a silver spoon in his mouth.
Nepotism.
Yeah.
Gobo's a Nepo baby. But yeah, I think it's, I don't know, again, that we're going to learn any more about Fraggle parents and where they are, what happened to them. But it's interesting. I've noticed this trend throughout this batch, and I think we talked about this maybe even in the last episode. There are things that come up in the songs that don't seem like things
Yeah.
the Fraggles would know
They
or talk
mention
about.
Humans.
It seems like the songwriters and the writing staff didn't have a conversation about what the Fraggles know about.
Yeah, it's hard to take that many words out of your rhyming dictionary,
I mean, Moki has an experience where she uses the word unfurgles. So
Well, that's yeah.
you can make up your own words. Shakespeare did it. But yeah, even in that the 30-minute workweek episode where the moral is loose, if anything, even the Doc and Sprocket thing is just about making a decision because Doc is trying to give Sprocket 2 different donuts to eat, and he can't make a decision. And so eventually Doc takes them away and gives him soup to choose, and then he can't choose soup.
Yeah.
So it really is just about like, hey, sometimes you just got to make decisions, guys.
Or you'll starve to death.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think about Uncle traveling mad on a roller coaster?
Again, doesn't tie to that theme of choosing things really at all. It's more about getting over your fear. But this is a delightful one in that he's riding the roller coaster next to Mr. Dave Goals.
Yeah, who's clearly got his arm inside of him.
Yeah, who clearly has a very fake arm with some sort of contraption to hide his arm poorly as it goes between him and Uncle Traveling Matt. And while that illusion maybe wasn't the best of hiding his arm, I do think the puppeteering of Uncle Traveling Matt while on the roller coaster is pretty impressive.
Yeah, That's a fun little assignment you got to figure out.
Apparently, Dave Goelz, though, hated roller coasters.
Oh,
Or at least didn't enjoy riding them like 12 times in a row to do all the takes they needed for this.
that's fair.
That roller
It would-
coaster, by the way, is called the Wild Beast roller coaster, which is still open at Canada's Wonderland. So you can go and ride
Wonderland.
the same roller coaster that Uncle Traveling Matt rode 40 years ago, which
Yeah,
now that I say
can't-
that out loud, sounds unsafe.
No, it's fine. Matt, let's go to Canada's Wonderland. We'll add that to our road trip.
Oh, we're adding an international stop to our Muppet road trip here.
Yeah, I thought it was good. There's one traveling Matt in this group that I really hated, and I thought the rest of them were pretty good.
Which one was that?
The net one. I didn't get the net one.
I also wrote that I think that was the weakest one so far because, this is in the last episode we watched, The Terrible Tunnel. And this one's really about, getting over your fears. Honestly, the roller coaster one would have worked pretty well in this episode because it's about getting over your fear and also about believing your friends and all that stuff. But in this one, Uncle Traveling Matt is at what he calls a large Fraggle pond, which is a marina where he sees some fishermen making nets. And he says that they're
Hole sewers?
hole fixers, hole sewers, something like that, because they're sewing nets. And then he just shows that they throw nets into the ocean, and that's it. And then
He's
it
like,
ends
"They're
with,
killing holes up here or something like that. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
well, because at the end he says holes are best avoided, which I guess is talking about the hole that Wembley falls into.
Well, yeah, but he doesn't have a choice. He gets sucked into the hole, and he ends up there accidentally.
Well, and that also seems like it would be counter to the message of this episode of like Wembley trying to conquer his fear of the terrible tunnel. And it's like, okay, so your lesson is holes are best avoided. It's just like, yeah, don't go looking for that. Avoid it, please. Like,
Yeah.
don't go looking for the terrible tunnel.
Also, we've seen Gorgs use nets, and possibly have also seen Fraggles use nets. They gotta know what nets are.
Again, that disconnect of what the people know about and what, like Uncle Traveling Matt maybe knows less about the world of the humans than even the Fraggles do
Than any of the
somehow.
yeah,
Because Convincing John references human beings
yeah.
quite
They do
specifically.
Say, Convincing John, they say he's the kind of Fraggle nobody hangs around, and he like lives off by himself. So I suppose it's possible that he is a more worldly Fraggle.
He's hanging out with humans all the time.
Yeah, they just find him in a bar or something.
Yeah, in his song, Convincing John tells a story in that where he says, and if you want to hear a story that is horrible and gory, let me tell you about a Fraggle I knew. He was sitting on a byway, eating up a doozer highway in a way a hungry Fraggle will do. Then he started in a changing and he started rearranging, and I promise you this story is true. By the time it was done, he was a human being through and through. So somehow, his story there is that a Fraggle ate too many doozer buildings and became a human.
The thing that they don't know exists.
No.
And then all the other Fraggles are like, oh, that must be bad, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's also, I believe, at some point in the world of Fraggle Rock, we will hear a story about if a doozer doesn't work, they will actually turn into a Fraggle.
Oh.
So there's like this weird chain of command of things you don't want to become.
I think that song would have made more sense if he had turned into a doozer after eating too much doozer highway.
Yeah, but then you're talking shit on the doozers right in front of them, and that's kind of rude.
Yeah, you're right. That Convincing John part was so good. It was so good to see that version of... That was Jim, right?
Yeah.
To see that version of Jim back.
Yeah, it's like a Dr. Teeth. If like Dr. Teeth and Waldorf had a baby,
Uh-huh.
that's what Convincing John sounds like.
Well, there's that one work short maybe we watched where it's the guy's like giving like the company is the most important thing, and then at the end he's like, get out there and sell, sell, sell. Remember that?
Yeah. The guy who's also in the Muppet Show pitch reel,
Yeah.
who's like yelling at the people to pick up the Muppet Show.
Right.
Yeah, it's like this unhinged Jim Henson character that he doesn't pull out very often, but it's got like sort of a Guy Smiley energy to it, but is just this like, evangelical.
And like Uncle Baby Billy from Righteous Gemstones also. You ever watch that show?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
I thought at first you were like naming a Muppet, and I was like, Uncle
No,
Baby Billy.
Uncle Baby
Who does he
Billy.
think he's saying? Like,
I know what I'm talking about this time. But I can't blame you for being confused because I don't often know what I'm talking about. In that episode when Boober, in the first episode, which I guess we're still talking about, when Wembley's like, I'm going to be a fireman, and Boober's like, are you sure? They're going to ask you so many questions. You don't even know. You're going to die. That's how I feel anytime that I know someone's about to ask me questions. Like I'm about to die.
That episode has something in it that I want to talk about because it happens in a couple episodes this time. A running gag that's not funny.
Uh-oh, what is it?
I don't even know how to start a fire.
Oh, I thought it was funny only because at the end, they're like, thank goodness, neither do we, all the other firemen. I thought that was okay.
I think it's one of those things, if you remove the trash heaps version of it, I'd be okay with maybe like Wembley being afraid to be a fireman because he doesn't know how to start a fire. And
Yeah.
us thinking like, oh, okay, whatever, that's just the thing he's afraid of. He doesn't make sense. But at the end, finding out all the other firemen have the same issue, I think that works.
Yeah.
The fact that it's like pitched as like a running gag where the trash heap's like, they're like, Philo and Gunge are like, why didn't you become a fireman, Marjorie? And she's like, well, I don't even know how to start a fire.
Yeah, especially because that is a requirement to becoming a fireman seems to be not to know how to start a fire.
Yeah, so I think just the fact that it was pitched as like a joke to me, I was like, oh, is that... Because Doc says it too, actually.
Yeah.
Doc makes
Yeah.
the same joke about firemen not knowing how to start a fire.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no, too many times, guys. Calm down.
It doesn't make a ton of sense, that's true.
The other one is the, all right, cover your eyes. Dark,
That one's
isn't it?
That one's really stupid. Because I think if somebody said that to me, I'd be like, I guess I'd be mad. I guess I would be like, what are you talking about?
Again, it comes completely out of nowhere. Like, Gobo just does it to Red to be a dick because Gobo likes to be a
fucking
dick.
Gobo's the worst Fraggle because Gobo has the capacity to be. This is not a reflection on
Jerry Nelson.
Jerry Nelson's performance of Gobo in any capacity because he's great
Mhm.
and Gobo is a great character, but he is genuinely the worst Fraggle because he is like sarcastic and no other Fraggle is sarcastic.
Yeah, no, it seems like he was the guy who like brought the group together, and so he feels like, well, I'm necessary to this group, so I can be an asshole whenever I want, and no
Yeah.
one's ever going to kick me out of this group. So
Yeah, and I
Deal with
wonder if
it.
there'll be an episode where it's like, look, Gobo, you're a dickhead. We
Yeah.
have to talk about this.
yeah, because there's multiple times throughout these episodes, and even in the last batch of episodes we saw, where he was just straight up a dick, and
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's going to stop anytime soon.
No. He's the Ross of the group, which Ross was the one who brought them all together, Matt. You're right.
There's a reason he's there. It's just not necessarily like,
A good reason.
yeah, maybe the Fraggles will have a conversation at some point of like, can we get rid of Gobo?
Is there an episode where they get rid of Ross? Or they like think about getting rid of Ross? I feel like there is one.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't watched Friends in recently enough to remember that.
It's kind of a good show. I liked Friends.
Yeah, definitely some problematic issues that don't age
Oh, for
well.
sure.
But, you know,
Definitely some things that are hilarious, like when they eat pie off the floor, though.
it's definitely a show that I will watch when I'm in a hotel and it's on Nick at Night.
Yeah. That and Seinfeld, the two best hotel room TV shows.
But yeah, Gobo is a dick. Getting like in that first episode where Wembley can't decide what he wants to do, Gobo like says
Kicks
he's
him out of the house.
well, yeah, because he says because Red and him have a conversation about how Gobo's going to be tough with Wembley
Yeah.
to like make him decide. And so he tells him, he's like, I don't pal around with wishy-washy Fraggles. And he kicks him out. And Wembley says, I'll pack my things. And Gobo says, it shouldn't take long. You've only got one spare shirt. And Wembley says, I'll pack my thing.
That part is great.
But so mean.
It's extremely mean. Yeah. Wishy-washy. All Fraggles are wishy-washy. That's their number one thing that they are. Should we star rate these episodes?
Oh, God, no. Because then we have to go back and rate the last ones. And
It's only 4. It's only 4, Matt.
they're all 4 stars. Good job, Fraggles.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I just don't think I'm going to be able to like objectively rate them in any sort of way that makes any sense.
I am. This one was 4 stars.
All right.
Do I rate out of 5?
You just made up this system.
This one is 4 out of 4.
Good job. It gets 1 Fragglelicious Fraggle from me. That's my rating system.
Oh, interesting. Let's see if we can divine what that means, viewers, throughout the next year.
One of the firemen in that first episode has a bucket instead of a fire hat, and it's covering his eyes, and so he has like a Boober style puppet.
Uh-huh.
But I like that there's just one fireman who didn't get a hat. Like
I think he's the bell. Because at the
Oh,
end,
was
he's
he?
running around, and I think he's dinging. He's dinging as he's running around. I'm pretty sure he's the bell. I think is what that was supposed to be.
Speaking of that, I think Wembley, great siren.
He was sounded just like a siren.
He even tricked Doc.
Yeah, Doc's like, fire department. Yeah,
One of the episodes we watched in this batch was the preachification of Convincing John, and it's a Moki episode, which we talked about last time. We were hoping we would get soon.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Moki after this batch?
She's kind of a not very nice person, I feel like. My crush is a little bit ruined on Moki. She's a high and mighty. She's righteous. I don't like that.
It's something that's echoed. That's a terrible play on words that you'll learn about in a second. That I did not mean to do. It is echoed in the new Back to the Rock series, where there's an episode that I can't quite remember what Moki is trying to get someone to do, but she's talking about it, and at one point, and this is, I think, Back to the Rock's least subtle moment, she ends up in this cave where there's like a bunch of faces built into the cave who are like saying like what her ideas are back to her, and it's the echo chamber.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because she becomes convinced that her ideas are really good because the cavern is echoing things back to her.
That's almost good and really bad too. I don't know how I feel about it.
It's one of those things where had they not said like it's an echo chamber, it would have been great, because all the other episodes of Back to the Rock are fantastic. All their lessons are like very subtly handled. That was the only one that bugged me because they were so deliberate with like, you get it?
Is Sprocket like tweeting in the B story or something?
No, I think honestly in the B stories, Doc and Sprocket are doing a lot of Journey to the Microcosmos kind of things.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're looking at things under the microscope, trying to find bacteria that can help recycle plastics.
What? Throughout the whole series?
There's so Fraggle Rock Back to the Rock has like a long story arc that goes over all the episodes.
Huh.
Yeah, it's very good. You should watch it sometime.
Well, I'll watch it in 15 years.
I think you're allowed to watch it now if you want. I don't think you have to wait. But this episode is the one that's like talking about Moki, being high and mighty, and really just the lesson here is like you should probably ask someone if you want to become their advocate and ally what they actually want, because
this one's a complicated moral.
And I think it does it in the way where, again, it doesn't beat you over the head with it. It just kind of like you see the mistakes Moki is making along the way, and you don't always know exactly why they're mistakes at first, but you can see that bad things are happening because of these and that nobody else wants this to happen. But Moki is so convinced. Even at one point, I believe she says, like, the more I think about it, the more I think I'm right. And it's like, but she's not adding any new information or talking to anybody else about it. She just is like internalizing it and going, you know what? I am correct.
Yeah.
But again,
and it's a very believable characteristic. Like,
I think we've all done this kind of thing at one point where we go like, you know what? I need to stand up for that person. And then you start to do that and you're like, wait, what? They said that I shouldn't do that? Or I'm standing here for them in a completely opposite way than maybe what they wanted? Uh-oh. This is another opportunity where Gobo gets to be a dick because Boober says, what happened to Moki? And Gobo says, the plug came out and her brain drained away.
So mean. I don't ever heard anybody say that. It's something that mean about one of their friends in my life.
Yeah. What if I just said that? Like the next time you can't remember Jerry Nelson's name and be like, what happened, Sam? The plug come out and your brain drained away?
I hang up the call and I would never come back and never talk to you again.
It'd be a one-man podcast over here, unedited.
But yeah, I think this episode could be a huge piece of shit. And if Convincing John was in it, it would be one of the best episodes of all time. Yeah,
I agree. And I think what's nice about Convincing John is that we see pretty early on that he's not what he's built up to be. Because after Moki and Red go to talk to him, they come away with Moki wearing cups on her hands and Red wearing a blindfold just because Convincing John convinced them to.
That's the way you got to live your life, and that's going to make you happy.
What'd you think of the old solemn oath of the Fraggle story line where apparently a Fraggle can get all Fraggles to do anything they want as long as they invoke the solemn oath of the Fraggle?
Man, it kind of reminded me of the situation in Congress right now.
All right. Keep going.
Uh-oh. Because one of the concessions that they made to elect whatever that guy's name is,
Kevin
John
McCarthy
or whatever.
Kevin.
Yeah. Is that only one person can call for the ouster of the Speaker of the House now instead of like 5 or 10 or something like that. So you open yourself up to all kinds of disaster when the voice of one righteous person outweighs the needs of all. How'd I do?
I think if you don't overanalyze what you just said too much, it sounds great.
Otherwise, it was just a convenient little story beat that I'm sure we'll never hear again that made the story go.
I'm kind of curious about that too, because they had the the Weeba Weeba Waffle Waffle Garbox Gumbage Whoopie.
Yeah.
And I was like, again, this is pretty good. I hope
That's too
that
good
comes
to
back.
not bring back eventually, yeah.
But they had that too in the last batch. I talked about that, where it was like there was like a weird cave song call and response thing they did at one point, where I was like,
yeah.
that seems like a
The
thing that's gonna be
like
around
the-
forever, and then it
Right.
never comes back.
But yeah, it's fun. This is a good one. I like learning about the ecosystem down there. I'm excited to meet more doozers, because you do meet named doozers eventually, right?
Yes, you get to meet multiple named doozers, and I do think this is the we're getting to see a bit more insight into some of the doozers in this one. Obviously, we have the mother and daughter doozers who are sadly talking about
The Great Depression doozers.
Yeah, but we get to learn more about them and how they have to build or they'll die, which obviously is a pretty harsh thing to learn about them. But
Puts a lot of pressure on the Fraggles, really.
they do get to do the thing they love the most, which is eat the doozer buildings. So
That's true.
the doozers still sort of amaze me in how they work, because I know they're all remote control. I know theoretically how they all work, but watching them work is amazing.
That scene where Moki's watching them in the beginning, and they're like got the little construction things, and she's kind of helping them do stuff, and you're seeing the powder go in and turn into sticks. It's so cool.
Yeah, there's like 30 doozers all moving around and doing different jobs and stuff, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
But how?
And the remote control Fraggles, when they do that, like when they have big song numbers, all the Fraggles are clearly, like, a lot of them are clearly being controlled by one person because they're all moving exactly the same way. But the doozers never feel like they are fake, really. They always seem like robots, but like alive robots, which works for them because they're little worker guys.
Yeah, I think the fact that they have like such minimal movement to them, like their legs and arms only move so far and their mouths are so tiny that it's easier to make it more convincing at that scale.
And most of the time they're just sitting in Tonka trucks doing fun stuff anyway.
And they can get away with, I know, like there's a couple moments where I was like, that is okay. Like there was like one that was like pulling a truck or something like that, but like his legs were moving like 1 mile per hour and the truck was moving like 5 miles per hour. And I'm like, okay, he's clearly not walking. So both of those things are like moving independently, but it's still very convincing to watch those doozers do what they do. We also learn a bit more about Doc's, I'll say, friend, Steve.
Hey, Steve, I'm trying to sew a button on an egg.
Why are you calling me? I'm busy, Steve. That's why Doc doesn't have any friends.
Yeah, and also his yard's apparently a mess. His neighbors hate him.
I think, though, like in watching this again, like watching this batch, I really had that thought of Doc is one of the best human Muppet like interactions ever.
Yeah,
Like as far as like a
they
human,
picked exactly the right guy. Is that what you mean?
yes. Like as far as watching a human interact with Muppets and doing it in a convincing way where he believes that he is there with a real living creature.
Yeah,
I think his name is Gerard Parks. He is I think he is one of the best. And I think we see that more in Muppet Family Christmas as well.
Oh my God, he's so good at Muppet Family Christmas.
I don't think I watched Muppet Family Christmas and go, wow, that Jerry Parks, real good at his job. But watching this and thinking about like the fact that he is alone in this room with a couple people underneath there as a puppet dog, and he has to sell it as a real dog.
Or talking to Fozzie Bear in an old lady wig.
And he does a good job at both.
Uh-huh.
And he gets so mad when his vacation is ruined in Muppet Family Christmas.
A guy getting mad at a Muppet is never not funny, basically.
But he does it in such a convincing way that I'm like, I'm very glad he was cast to be Doc, because I do feel like even though, he's not really going to get to like interact with the Fraggles, he at least gets to interact with Sprocket in a fun way.
And I think it is useful, like you said, that he's dumber than Sprocket. I think that kind of helps sell it too.
Yeah, it lets the smartness of Sprocket really shine, that there are things that Doc can't figure out, so Sprocket has to.
Yeah, and every time I see it, it makes me so happy that the Tales from Tinker D idea finally just got to be what it could have always been.
Yeah. There was no Gorgs or trash heap in that episode, which I thought was interesting, that they usually at least try to tie in all of, like, not always the trash heap, but I feel like the Gorgs, or like at least the Gorg garden.
Is don't have one or the other is weird. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's okay, because I do not like the Gorgs at all.
Oh.
I have decided that they annoy me deeply.
Is it because of Junior Gorg's baby voice?
I just hate his baby voice. I
Yeah.
can't get over it. And I think they were used pretty well there wasn't an episode in this batch that had a Gorg storyline. It was just, I'm trying to get you. And I think that's okay. I think that works okay to have them just for a second. Because it's kind of like how Beauregard is good in little doses. Like, he's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's funny to have Junior be like, here's my trap for this week. Oh, it didn't work. And that's all that I need to see from him. But I'm not excited about the Gorgs. But I love Marjorie the Trash Heap. I think she's great.
Yeah, we see the early, slightly different version of the Marjorie the Trash Heap puppet in the 30-minute Work Week episode, where they did her. I think she was like only one episode, maybe a few episodes, and they changed up her design a little bit, which I think is good because she looks a little bit more like a melty monster in that episode. But I do love her and Philo and Gunge.
Philo and Gunge are so funny.
Yeah.
They just sit there bullshitting, and then these dumb people come up and want help, but they're so stupid.
Which I was a little confused by in one of the episodes, like I think the last episode we watched. They bring up something about Gobo, and Philo and Gunge are like, "Who's Gobo?"
Gobo. Yeah.
And I couldn't remember if like Gobo had been there yet to talk to them, or if they just like forgot his name because they don't see him as important.
I think that they don't care to learn who Gobo or any of them are.
Like they interact with like 4 people and they don't remember them.
But they are like, that Moki. People are really talking about that Moki.
So she wrote a poem? What? She can paint with her hand and her tail at the same time?
That was cool, though.
I mean, yeah, that's why Red wants to be her.
Yeah.
There's a moment.
I give that episode 4 stars.
Which one? The Moki one?
Yeah, the preachification of convention.
Okay.
4 stars.
We're all over the place in our discussion of this, so I'm not sure exactly which episode you're talking about. But yeah, that one.
In my head, now we're on I Want to Be You.
Oh, okay. I still had thoughts on preachification of
please, Matt.
John.
I wouldn't dream of not letting you give us your thoughts.
Really, my only main thought was that I loved how ravenous Gobo and Wembley become at one point when they sneakily try to start eating Doozer buildings and Moki catches them.
Yeah.
Because
it's like they have a zombie virus or something.
They become like completely like unhinged animals for the first time. I think we've seen them like have this animalistic quality where they're just, it's, in Fantastic Mr. Fox where he's walking around. Yes. Yeah. When he's talking, he's having this nice conversation with his wife and then he sits down to eat and he's just like,
you know what they do that in The Simpsons too, Matt? That's how they eat in The Simpsons.
Everything's The Simpsons. Even the things that came before The Simpsons, like Fraggle Rock.
Oh, no. I didn't even consider that. That's where Matt Groening got the idea.
He was watching Fraggle Rock and said, what if they were all yellow?
Miyamoto watched Fraggle Rock and said, what if Mario go underground? Miyamoto's going to get sued.
Or we're going to get sued for saying Miyamoto should be sued.
Miyamoto. I didn't say you should be. God, no. I would perish the thought.
Getting on to the I Want to Be You episode where Red wants to be more like Moki. This one is interesting for a little note here is that Karen Prell, who performs Red, originally wanted to play Moki in Fraggle Rock. She thought that was a more interesting character. But then she said that early on in the series, referencing this episode, when Red imitated Moki, she got to see how different the characters really were. And she said, that's the show when I discovered who Red was. From then on, it was clear sailing, and it was one of the best things in my life.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so it wasn't until
she learned a moral, too.
Yeah. It wasn't until she tried to, like, pretend to be a different character with her character that she got to understand who her character really was.
Honestly, this is the first episode where I liked Red, too. Like, I haven't really, like, attached to Red until this one when it was kind of like, oh... She's got all the bluster, but inside she is just trying to fit in. Kind of like Gonzo. She's kind of a Gonzo.
Yeah, and I think she has...
and she feels bad about herself.
She has a similarly sad Gonzo-like song in this one called Dreaming of Someone, where she sings the lyric, how I wish I could change myself, change to somebody new.
Mm-hmm. And this is one where the puppeteering, I thought, was, like, really good, where that puppet that looks so happy and crazy most of the time looks so sad.
Well, and again, like, you forget that these Muppets, for the most part, don't have actual like expression to their eyes.
She doesn't even have eyelids. Like
No.
Moki at least has eyelids that move, and
She has giant bulging eyes on top of her head that somehow you can make look sad just by changing up her facial expression and performance a little bit.
just like Kermit.
Mm-hmm. But Red wants to change herself because she says that special person is never me.
Nope. And everybody likes Moki's shitty poems.
Mm-hmm. And I really like that song. I think it's like one of my favorite Fraggle songs so
Yeah,
far.
me too.
There is, however, a couple weird moments during that song. One, there's a flute playing Fraggle in
I
the
like
cave where Red like goes to sing, and at one point he's just like staring at Red like, "Oh, is this weird that
I
I'm
guess I gotta
here?"
play flute.
And we also get a little a vision of Red's where Moki is like angelically up on a cloud and everyone is
Yeah.
worshiping her.
Yeah. I like that. I thought felt like it got the point across. You thought it was too weird?
It didn't feel Fraggle Rock to me.
It didn't feel like she'd know that imagery, I
Right.
suppose.
It
Yeah.
looked like a Muppet Show thing
Yeah.
to me more than a Fraggle Rock thing, which is not a bad thing, obviously, but it just caught me off guard. I like learning about Doc and Sprocket's history with their costume parties that they've gone to in the past, where it seems like they're always the inverse of who you think they might be playing. So they went as a cowboy and a horse, and Doc was the horse. Doc also seems to think that the point of a costume party is to trick people. And
Maybe
like,
they do it different in Canada. I don't know.
yeah, like people aren't supposed to know who you are when you get to the costume party, and you want them to like not know for as long as possible.
Which sounds kind of fun. If you're
Yeah,
with a bunch of people that you trust, I guess. And not
not in like a eyes wide shut situation.
exactly, Matt.
That's everyone's recasting movies with Muppets.
Oh no.
They're not doing the real shit. You go back
Yeah,
into the
they're
Kubrick library.
They're afraid. Yeah.
Oh, you're not gonna make Doctor Strange love with Doctor Strange pork? Come on, it's right there. I like that they keep going back to the trash heap for advice, even though traditionally she's quite terrible at giving advice.
Most of her, like half of her advice genuinely backfires and leads them into horrible trouble. And then the other half of the time she doesn't finish her sentence or whatever.
Yeah, and they walk away having taken some lesson from her. And she's like, wait, what was I saying? But yeah, most of her advice, quite bad. Like,
It's very fun. It's another like don't trust authority kind of thing that I really like.
like her advice to Wembley of wanting to be a fireman is just because she also wanted to be a fireman.
Yeah.
Like that's not
That's
like
okay.
anything she knows about Wembley of like, you know what? I think you would make a great fireman. It's like, have you
Yeah.
thought about these jobs? All right, bye.
And it feels like an accident, but that also is how Wembley operates. He just does whatever the last person says. Like he just does whatever they want to do.
Which I guess the lesson of the episode is like, if you have a Wembling friend, just tell them what to do and they'll do it.
Yeah, and they'll be happy.
What do you think of Red's Moki impression?
I think it was unsettling to see her without a shirt on. That's the first thing I thought.
Yeah, you can't think too much about Fraggle anatomy because like none of them wear pants.
No,
They're all Donald Duckin.
that's okay because I'm used to Muppets not wearing pants. But
When again, we talked about this a lot of times. When a character who traditionally wears clothes suddenly is not wearing those clothes,
yeah,
then you're asking too many questions about, well, they were originally wearing clothes for a reason, right? And now
Yeah.
they're not.
or when they do sometimes wear clothes and then they take them off. Yeah,
Kermit's like the only one who threads that needle pretty well.
yeah, because he looks so good in clothes for the most part.
But like,
He's
you know,
a stylish guy.
we can't. I'm going to regret saying this out loud.
I know what you're gonna say, and I wish you wouldn't.
What do you think I'm going to say?
We can't see Miss Piggy naked.
Precisely, Sam. That's exactly the words I was going to say out loud. Every other Muppet, almost, I feel like, you know, Sam the Eagle, naked. Fozzie Bear, naked. Kermit,
Yeah.
naked. Elmo,
Yeah.
naked. But some Muppets, Miss Piggy being one of them,
Yeah.
you can't. You're just not allowed.
Or like Link Hogthrob clearly has a complete
Nope.
penis.
Nope. Nope. I hate
The
that.
pig Muppets underneath their clothes are all anatomically correct.
Well, because a lot of times the pig Muppets are like seem to be like an analog for humans.
Yeah.
Like they use them so much in the Muppet Show as like an
And they're
analog for humans.
sensual too. They generally tend to be kind of sensual.
Oh boy, I'm sorry.
We can't see Miss Piggy naked, even though that's the thing with it. Every human being in the world wants to see.
Everybody
almost.
wants it, but it's forbidden.
They can't give it to us.
Well, make sure everyone you tweet at us which Muppets you don't think are allowed to be naked.
Mm.
Because I'm interested in that because we've again. I'm curious about this. Like Red, takes off the shirt and then is furry and whatever like that. And like obviously it's not a thing in the story where it's like, oh my God, Red took off her shirt because we have Fraggles walking around without clothes all the time. So it's not in context. It's a completely
And Moki
innocent...
doesn't wear a shirt, so it's not
right. But it is just like it is again one of those things that, like when you have a Muppet podcast and you start thinking about things too much.
Yeah.
It becomes
when
weird.
You've seen Ernie take his shirt off too many times, and you're like, he's just so broad and orange.
But you don't see Bert take off his shirt.
No. He probably wears like a one-piece bathing suit to take a bath.
Oh, I bet you're right. I bet
One
that probably
of those,
happens.
Victorian ones with the straps.
Yep, the stripes and the... It's just got his same stripes as his sweater on it, but it's like a full swimming suit, and he wears a shower cap on it.
Yeah.
There's probably an image of that out there on the internet already. That's like actually Sesame Street did. But yeah, I thought it was interesting sort of the way that Red gets into that character. She's like, all right, I got my hair down, I got a sweater, and now I'm going to talk like this. That's all you got to do to be Moki. But yeah, through that episode is when Boober thinks Red has a contagious disease, bacterial sufferosis, which the symptoms are a weird voice and funny hair.
Your hair's funny, yeah.
Which pretty much every Fraggle has. And Boober starts to think that he is in fact sick. This is because he got a book about disease where he says, now I can find out what's wrong with me before I get sick. So he's...
I love Boober.
Yeah, Boober is far and away the deepest Fraggle so far.
I think Gobo is too. Gobo's just a piece of shit.
Yeah, there's going to be a Gobo reckoning at some point where everyone's going to be like, yo, dude, calm down.
We're going to put Gobo on a iceberg and float him off into the sea.
Remember that shit you said to Moki about her brain draining out of her head? Too far.
Well, and in this episode after Red saves him, she's like, oh, I'm sorry that happened to you. And Gobo's like, well, it wouldn't have happened to us if you hadn't gone out there.
Yeah. No, it's, yeah, there's multiple times where I used to wonder why Red didn't want to hear Uncle Traveling Matt's postcards. And now, when I see how much of a dick Gobo is, I'm like, yeah, I get it. That's fine.
Yeah, these postcards suck and you're an asshole.
In the first episode, the 30-minute work week, there's a really good moment where Gobo asks Red, like, hey, do you want to hear from my Uncle Traveling Matt? And she's like, sure, I love fiction. So in Red's head, Uncle Traveling Matt's just like sitting in the next room writing these lies onto postcards about what's happening out there in outer space. But the moment when Red walks in, dressed like Moki and pretending to be her, there's two doozers, and one turns to the other one and says, trouble, let's go.
I did not catch that.
But that was like the most like one of the, like the little moments that revealed of like, oh, the doozers don't necessarily love the Fraggles, or at least can identify their drama, and when it's going to happen, it's like, ah, shit, this girl again. Let's get out of here.
She's going to squish us. She's always knocking everything over. Rachel got really scared in the episode about eating doozer constructions. She thought that the Fraggles meant they were eating doozers.
Oh.
To explain, no.
Ooh.
That would be rough if they were eating doozers.
Yeah, they got to be a little careful because doozers are sometimes climbing on those buildings, and so they could like accidentally take a chunk out of one.
Uh-huh. A Fraggle has eaten a doozer in the past for sure. And then just been like, oh, hide the little construction helmet under my bed.
There's a song in this episode that I'm not entirely sure about. It's called the Beatles song, mostly because I think a lot of the songs in Fraggle Rock come out of a place of like storytelling, and they like seem like they naturally come up in a musical kind of way where the characters are trying to talk through something and they start singing a song, or they're going through something, the song comes out. Rarely is it like, hey everyone, I'm going to sing a song now that has nothing to do with what we're going through.
And they kind of try to make it, because it's like Moki singing a beautiful, complicated song in her lyrical way, and then Red is trying to copy it, but then is doing a bad job. But my problem with that is that after that song, you would think Moki would be like, Red's trying to pretend to be me, but doesn't know that until they go and listen to the trash heap. Right.
And I think that's one of my main issues with it is just that you can't... Yeah, like it just doesn't really, I don't know, do anything for the story. Like it just sort of like happens, and then they all like we understand as the viewer what's happening because we see Red becoming unraveled as she tries to be like Moki. But the fact that like Red and Moki, neither one learn anything from that song, just makes me wonder sort of why it's there.
Yeah. And it would have actually been nice if they hadn't gone and talked to... So the second scene with the trash heap's kind of weak too, because Gobo and Moki just overhear, and the trash heap's still going on about Moki, which is a little unbelievable to me. She's just like, oh, she came and talked about Moki. It's just like a weird stilted bit of dialogue. And it's weird that they're just eavesdropping and didn't go up and be like, hey, did our friend Red come here and talk to you? So it would have been better, I think, if Moki had been like, oh, you're trying to be me. And then they both go out to collect radishes. And maybe it had just been those two and only Moki gets captured. Yeah. And maybe Gobo isn't there because you don't need Gobo for anything because he's the Ross of the group. And then Moki and Red kind of have like their own little moment of like, well, maybe Moki could be like, well, I think you're great. I think your tricks are great. Because right, at the end of it, that's kind of just like, well, I don't know. No one's being any nicer to Red, it seems like.
Yeah, like they don't... I feel like they actually should have said out loud, like, you're like, because they don't say, you shouldn't try to be a Moki, you're a great Red.
Yeah.
They compliment her on her ability to impersonate a bush.
Yeah.
They say, like, you don't make a good Moki, but you make a great bush.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's almost a compliment.
Only time I'm ever going to do that in my life, but I guess thank you.
Yeah, there's a couple weird moments in this episode where, in that moment where they're listening to the trash heap and Philo and Gunge, I want to know your opinion on this. Philo and Gunge say to the trash heap, we never knew you had it in you. And she says, boys, I have everything in me. And they look at the camera and say, no comment. What does that mean?
Because she's a trash heap and she's full of trash. Are you thinking about it in some kind of nasty way?
It seemed almost like it could be the, like, Animaniacs. Good night, everybody. Like, we know we just made a dirty reference, but we can't say we made a dirty reference.
Yeah, I'm really torn on if it's that or if it's just like maybe in some respects you're not supposed to draw attention to the fact that she's a giant pile of trash.
But like the very first thing she says in like
maybe
the first episode.
Maybe she's allowed to say that, but you're not allowed to say that.
Okay.
Yeah. She can say that she's full of garbage. And I'm just seeing maybe that there's some irony in the fact that she's full of garbage and everything she says is
garbage,
right? Is that the joke of her or something?
Maybe. I never thought about that, but that would make sense now. But yeah, it was just a weird moment. And then in the whole, Red pretends to be a bush to trick Junior Gorg. The amount of times he's saying like, "Yes, sir, Mr. Bush." Yeah.
Well, made you think of George Bush.
Yes, who was vice president at this time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Is this a weird reference?" To George Bush
anymore, really,
because they also say something about like Red doing a Bush impersonation, and I'm like, people on SNL were probably doing Bush impersonations at that time. So is this like a joke for the adults in the room to be like,
wow, if you're old as hell, tell us,
or just like 10 years older than us.
Yeah, I had that thought too, like
the fact that he was vice president at this time, and they kept saying like, "Yes, sir, Mr. Bush," makes me wonder, because I obviously don't know anything about the politics of the early '80s, and like how sometimes vice presidents don't do much. You don't even remember them. Other
was
times,
Dana Carvey going, "Not gonna do it"?
Right. I don't know how popular he was at the time. So I don't know like how public facing George Bush was early on in his vice presidency. So that way, like, if people were regularly talking about Mr. Bush in the news, this probably would have been a reference, but otherwise it could have just been a weird, offhanded accident.
Was Dana Carvey going, kind of like Cujo? Who knows?
All right, you got one more in you?
Fuck. I know I do. Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent.
There you go. You didn't say wouldn't be prudent before. That's your third one.
Wouldn't be prudent. Yeah.
Good job. Well, the last episode we watched this week was The Terrible Tunnel, which, again, we've talked about a little bit here and there. But this one is notable for the introduction of the storyteller.
Is this a recurring character?
It is a recurring character.
I didn't recognize the person playing the storyteller either.
This is Richard Hunt.
It is?
Yes. This is the only time Richard Hunt will perform the storyteller, though. Later on, Terry Angus will take over the storyteller role. And in the future, Storyteller in Back to the Rock is one of the best characters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Storyteller has some very good moments in Back to the Rock that are unexpected, I would say. But one other thing about this episode is that you might see at the very end of the theme song, where Boober usually says, "Down in Fraggle Rock," in this one, he sounds weird
Sounds like Wembley.
because it is Wembley's voice. They had the thought early on where they were like, hey, what if we recorded different Down in Fraggle Rocks for different characters, and depending on the episode, we just dropped in random Fraggles there. Eventually, they were like, hey, the Boober one's pretty good, though, so what if we just did that one? But apparently there are a couple of examples where they switched it up and they used Wembley instead. However, we do not see Wembley in this version. We see the weird version that they used for Cable later on, where they thought it would be apparently too weird to see Wembley at the end of that, and so they used the old footage of Boober, but yet still kept the Wembley voice for some reason.
Extremely confusing.
It's a poor choice, I gotta say. But that's what happened, and it's very weird.
And it makes it seem like that's like an early version when Boober was completely different or something.
It's like early Elmo a little bit, which is like a little raspy and weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this episode, Doc is making a collapsible bookcase that we talked about earlier with the horseshoe, which does end up working because apparently all it needs to do is collapse.
It's collapse. I like that.
And Boober has a lucky flower pot that he knocks on to keep the beast away.
Not so lucky for the flower, though.
Which is one of the only good times I feel like Gobo has been a little bit of a jerk.
Yeah. Because the flower is dead. You're allowed to be a jerk to Boober, I feel like, to some degree.
Well, because Boober's also a jerk to himself.
Yeah, and he's such a little worm. It's hard not to be a jerk to him.
Well, we learn a lot more about his superstitious nature in this one, where he's pretty much afraid of everything, and is very superstitious about the terrible tunnel, the cracks in the wall.
He's right about the terrible tunnel, though.
To be fair, he is correct. And the storyteller goes to tell them the story of the terrible tunnel, but first wants to tell a story about Fedora Fraggle, who she says was hatched. Like all other Muppets we've alluded to when we said they all came from eggs.
Yes.
Apparently, though, at some point in the second season, we will learn that they are not hatched. So
I saw it. I'm waiting till that episode comes before I pass judgment on that or not.
Yeah.
Because they might just be stupid.
They just don't know how they're born?
Yeah. They just don't know how they're born. But what do we decide that, do they all hatch from eggs, or was it like some of them, like Kermit, maybe he's like a real frog, but if you're like a monster Muppet, like the Honkers, that's like
I think you had decided they were all like Pokemon, and so they all came from eggs.
Okay, I like that still.
I don't think I was on your side fully, but I think that's where you at least landed on your opinion.
I could see Miss Piggy being born in a traditional way. I could see Kermit being a part of a spawn of eggs.
Yeah.
But I think like Grover came out of an egg. I think Cookie Monster came out of an egg. Snuffleupagus definitely came out of an egg.
That's a big ass egg.
Big egg, but he still did.
I want that to be right. I don't think it is, but I want it to be right.
Me too. That's my new career goal. Get to the top of the organization and say, put out a press release.
You know what you got to write?
Look. Yeah.
You've got to write the Muppets Easter special.
Oh.
So that way...
Where did we come from? The Sesame Street Easter special. Where did we come from? Well, little Elmo, you were hatched out of an egg.
And they show like a lineup of eggs from like Slimy's egg to Snuffleupagus's egg.
Yeah.
Like,
and they all hatch, and then above it says, "This is canon," in big letters.
But in like Latin, so that way like it's not immediately like this is canon. You get to
Yeah.
translate it later on.
For the adults in the room.
The Latin scholars.
The ones who went to Yale and Harvard, like Rory Gilmore.
Okay, so getting back to this episode, we have the Ballad of Sir Blunderbrain, who I think shouldn't have died.
I thought when the episode was over, I was like, surely Sir Blunderbrain is just in that rock, and he'll be like, "Hey, what's up? I was just calling for help, and I heard somebody playing Heidi Ho, so I was like, oh," but he's just dead.
Well, so they talk about the ancient Fraggles disappearing down windy tunnels, and we get to see some ghost Fraggles as well, who previously died in the tunnels. And Sir Blunderbrain is walking around with some other Fraggles, and they go, and he gets eaten up by the big clam, terrible tunnel thing. And he's maybe 10 feet away from them, walking around lost. And you see two of the Fraggles look at each other and shrug of like, well, what can we do? And they just walk away.
Yeah.
But like, They could see him. He's right there. And they don't even try to save him.
Yeah. Well, he saved them first.
Right. But, like, they don't try to, return the favor and say, like, well, what if we got, like, a rope or anything?
That's just how Fraggles do, you know?
They just abandon him.
You think he's got every right to be an evil ghost.
Yeah.
That's true. That makes sense. I just think he shouldn't have died in a story sense, because at the end it's kind of weird that it's like, I guess that guy's just dead. They were right, and he's dead. And that story doesn't tie in at all. Like, the tunnel is just bad. It feels like the moral of the story could be like, there's more to history than you think, or like something. But the moral of the story is almost nothing, and it's just like, this tunnel's really actually pretty scary.
There's a good episode actually that like follows up on that kind of theme in Back to the Rock, where there was this like ancient Fraggle hero called Icy Joe who got stuck and frozen in like a
Fraggles
glacier.
have such great names.
And they like de-thaw Icy Joe, and it's like, oh my God, the great adventurer Icy Joe, you're my hero. We have to meet. And Icy Joe is as close to a Fraggle can come as a racist old person.
Oh no!
And it's really like the don't meet your heroes, and like sometimes your elders aren't always the people you think they're gonna be.
Wow. That sounds great.
It's so good. And Icy Joe is also performed by Karen Prell, doing this like the truly unhinged character that I don't even really know how to describe, other than maybe the best character in Back to the Rock. Not from a personality point of view, because she's terrible, but as far as a puppeteering point of view, great. A small detail in this one that I loved is Boober's flower pot gets dropped because Wembley is scared by the terrible tunnel. And Boober says, "Don't worry, I always carry a spare." And he picks up his other little lucky flower pot that I'm sure we'll never see again, but I'm glad he had it. This is the moment where I was thinking more about how the songwriters and the Fraggle writers don't talk about what Fraggles know, because Boober gets to sing a song, which I'm happy about. Love a Boober song, but he's singing Bad News, and he's singing about sharks, tigers, and trucks. Yeah. When Uncle Traveling Matt doesn't seem to know anything when he's out in outer space. He goes to a construction site and thinks those are giant doozers doing their doozer constructions, and he tries to eat metal. So
he doesn't know the name of anything. Also, if he saw a tiger, he wouldn't say that's a tiger.
No, he would think it was a Fraggle. Like, he'd be like, "Oh, look at this this big four-legged Fraggle.
Yeah,
it tried to eat me."
Maybe Uncle Traveling Matt is the dumbest Fraggle, and I think you're right. I think he's just the dumb guy.
But again, I don't feel like I would ever hear Boober reference a shark, a tiger, or a truck when they're having a conversation.
No, that's true. Does that bother you, though?
It doesn't bother me. It just is a weird disconnect when I hear them sing about sharks and tigers. I'm like, oh, you know what a shark and tiger is now? Okay.
It's like when you're watching Star Wars and they're speaking Arabish or Universal Basic or whatever. Arabish is the script.
Yeah, it's the written language.
They're speaking Universal Basic. Is that what it's called?
I think so. It's
Galactic
at least basic. Yeah.
And you understand them. You're understanding the Fraggles. It's the closest translation you can get to what they're saying, is that they're singing about that. How's that strike you?
I'm all right with that. I was thinking of there's a line in the novelization of the first Star Wars movie that came out like before, obviously, Star Wars was a thing. And there's a line in there that has stuck with me so much that is similar to this, where Obi-Wan and Luke are, I think when they're first like hanging out, Obi-Wan says, "Still, even a duck has to be taught to swim."
Not a duck.
And Luke says, "What's a duck?" And Obi-Wan says, "Never mind."
That's cool. It would be such a funny side story if Obi-Wan just got sucked here from our universe and was like, what the fuck is going on?
But I just love that, like, because I was reading that, and when he said a duck, I was like, that's kind of weird. And then Luke said, "What's a duck?" And Obi-Wan just says, "Never mind." I'm here to teach you about everything except what a duck is, because I'm not allowed to break the fourth wall here.
Yeah. They could at least do like what Star Trek does and call it like a Ferengi duck or something, you know?
They do that in Star Wars later on in like the Rebels series and other things. Like they have these wild cats that are on the planet Lothal, and they're Loth cats.
Loth cats.
It's like, boom, solved it. Problem solved. Loth dog.
But then
Loth
if you said
wolf. Like,
they said a cat, they would say, "You're insane."
Yeah,
what
what's a
kind
cat?
of cat are you talking about?
Yeah, he's got to have loath ducks.
A loath duck. And then Luke would be like, oh, a loath duck.
Yeah, and I think that's where I feel like they would finish this song and Wembley would go like, "What's a
What did we
shark?"
just say?
And Boober's like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I don't know what a
That
shark
would be
is.
fun. That would actually, if they did that, I would be like, okay, I'm never going to question this ever again.
But yeah, that episode.
But you can't make them not rhyme with anything in the whole world. You can't have a list of like, okay, they've seen a wrench, they've seen a hat, they've seen a gorg. They can rhyme with all these things.
I mean, again, Moki tries to figure out what rhymes with gurgles and says unfurgles. So I feel like you can have a little bit of leeway with the
I
words.
suppose.
But yeah, this episode is one, again, this is the weird Uncle Traveling Matt fisherman net thing. This is one where Doc and Sprocket are just finding a horseshoe. Not really sure what the lesson is there.
With that one, don't be an asshole to your dog, I guess.
So yeah, the lesson on this one is, I think, clear in some ways and very, very murky in others, because even the end of the episode is like they go and tell the storyteller, hey, we actually saw the terrible tunnel. We survived it. It's all right. It's not too bad. And so the storyteller just changes the story to be about how awesome Wembley is.
Yeah. But the tunnel is bad. The tunnel's scary and will kill you.
Yes. But the heroic Wembley did not die that day.
With the side lesson of Wembley was right once, immediately is undercut by Wembley saying, I don't think it'll ever happen again, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was a really weird one, but it is beautiful. There's lots of cool creatures in the terrible tunnel. There's like this like centipede kind of ghoulish pointy guy that's hanging out in there.
Yeah, it's like
And the
almost
beginning
spiders.
story, yeah, and the beginning story with like the night Fraggle is very cool. And when they're getting sucked into the terrible tunnel and they're like holding on to stuff and they're like, whoa, I thought that was cool. It just was like, it was a good world building. Like it felt like an epic, like a Halloween special kind of special episode. That was fun, but I learned nothing from it.
Yeah, because I liked seeing that they had to build, obviously, some like new puppets for that, because they obviously, like, they're flying horizontally through the terrible tunnel as they get sucked into it. And normally the puppet hole would be on the bottom when they're like doing this, but like they obviously had to like put a puppet hole on their stomachs so they could puppeteer them as they horizontally flew down the tunnel.
Yeah.
I again, the lesson's not as clear or as solid as I feel like it is in the I Want to Be You and the Convincing John episodes. But I still feel like it was a pretty strong episode.
Yeah.
What are you going to rate that one?
Oh, I forgot to rate I
did.
Want to Be You. I'll rate I Want to Be You 3 stars. 3.5 stars. Terrible Tunnel, 4 stars.
Boom. They all get a Fraggalicious flower pot from me.
Oh. Okay, I'm writing that down. Someday I'll unravel your mysteries, Matt.
And it's a fool's errand. Well, then, Sam, I think it's time to dive into our Muppet of the Week. And this week's Muppet of the Week is going to be Red Fraggle. Although, turns out when we looked up the information about Gobo last week, and it was kind of limited, but still some interesting fun facts in there, not as much about Red out there. So it's going to be a bit briefer, and I have a feeling the other Fraggle Muppet of the Weeks might be similarly brief. So what I'm going to do is probably talk a little bit more about the like performers behind them, and some more like the, background information that I can find. But, if you don't know who Red Fraggle is, she's the yellow one with
She's
the
the
orange
red.
hair.
Well, she has a red shirt.
Yes, that's how we know she's red. Maybe they'll share that insight one day of how she came to be called Red because she wore
has
a red
red
shirt
hair.
one day. Well, it's like orange hair, I guess. Yeah,
People with red hair have orange hair.
That's
That's
true.
the dark secret nobody wants to talk about.
you're gonna spill reveal these secrets here, Sam.
Yeah.
No one wants to say it.
I'm the only one brave enough.
Nobody has red hair. And according to Muppet Wiki, Red has the most hair of any Fraggle. Which we
She
do
does
see-
have a little bigger hair than Moki when she lets it down.
Yeah, that's a lot of hair, which was actually like a surprising amount of hair when she let it down. But I'll trust him. She is the daredevil of the group. It seems like because she's also the most athletic of the group and competitive, likes to be sporty. We saw in the one where everyone cares about Moki that she is trying to invent a cool slide to show everyone and nobody gives a shit. But we also learn, again, that her job is to clean the pool. Although I'm still not sure how exactly that's happening by just
There's
jumping into it.
agitators in water. My dad's works in water treatment. You have to have agitators, Matt. They have to be agitated, and that's what she's doing.
I guess it makes sense that
Stops
Red
mold
Fraggle
from
is
building.
an agitator.
Yeah,
Like, that makes sense to me.
yeah.
But yeah, obviously, Red Fraggle debuts in Fraggle Rock in 1983, just like all the other Fraggles.
Mm-hmm.
And notably, like very few other Muppet characters, Red has had one performer since day one,
Oh wow.
and that is Karen Prell, who started performing Red at the beginning and still performs Red to this day on Back to the Rock. Karen Prell, you might remember we talked about forever ago, because in Jim's journal he noted on December 15th, 1979, Karen Prell comes in from Washington State.
Mm-hmm.
And this is because Karen Prell, when she was a teenager, basically just like sent a bunch of letters and phone calls and stuff to the Henson Company, just being like, hey, let me work with you. And eventually they were like, fine, okay, come here.
That's very Red Fraggle behavior, isn't it?
Yeah. And so this is the story that we had heard before, where she flew in from Seattle to New York during the holidays. Everyone else was pretty much away. So Jim answered the door and greeted her with a hug. And she said, it was like arriving at Mount Olympus and being greeted and hugged by a god. But yeah, after that, she joined in and first started out on Sesame Street, but eventually go on to perform Yolanda in Muppets Take Manhattan, the Mink at the end of Muppet Family Christmas, and multiple characters in Labyrinth, The Storyteller, and a whole bunch of characters in the Mother Goose Stories series that we'll eventually watch. But Karen also worked at Pixar, as far back as the short Jerry's Game, the chess one that everyone just knows because it was a bonus feature on one of the DVDs early on.
Yeah, and that guy's in Toy Story 2 also, right?
Yes. And she has actually continued to work as an animator on movies and video games. She worked on Frozen, Tangled, Portal 2, and Left 4 Dead.
Worked technically on them, not just voice.
Correct. She didn't. I don't even think she did voices on those. She was like helped on the animation of the robots in Portal 2 to like make them
Whoa.
more human-like.
Cool.
And then yeah, she's just done like animation stuff on Frozen and Tangled.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of animation, in the animated Fraggle Rock series, notably, the performers did not get asked to come voice their characters. And yeah, so in the animated series, Red Fraggle is voiced by Barbara Goodson, who has 400 credits on IMDb, like many voice actors do. Most notably, to me, she was the English voice of Rita Repulsa back in the day on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So just imagine Rita Repulsa and Red Fraggle being voiced by the same woman. When I was looking into sort of the family aspect of Fraggles, I found a post on the website tvtropes.com under their wild mass guessing section, where it's just people throwing out theories, essentially. Mm-hmm. And somebody just typed this. I'm going to read it verbatim. Junior Gorg has a mother and father. So does Cotterpin Doozer. So Gorgs and Doozers must reproduce like people. But none of the Fraggles have parents. The only older Fraggles are Uncle Traveling Matt and the world's oldest Fraggle. Obviously, Fraggles are like mayflies, salmon, and the 17-year cicadas, creatures that die right after reproducing.
Oh, no. Or they could be immortal like elves.
Then where are their parents, Sam?
They're made of clay.
What?
Like Wonder Woman. Or Greek mythology. There is people made of clay in that, too.
Or Rita Repulsa's monsters.
Oh, my gosh. Finster made them in his oven.
Finster made
She's
the
like,
Fraggles.
These are your worst monsters yet, Finster. What
These
is
are
wrong
small
with
and
you?
useless. Lock them underground forever.
Finster's really sick.
Unfortunately, though, Sam, that's about it as far as like information on Red. Obviously, we'll get to know her more as we watch Fraggle Rock.
Everything there is to know about her, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see her have some more interesting storylines. But for now, that's all we know about Red. So based on that alone, what would you like to rate Red out of 10?
Out of 10, I was going to ask. What do I do? Gosh. I kind of really like Red after she felt so sad. I'm going to give her a 7.5 right now.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to give her an 8 because I gave Gobo a 7, and I'm regretting that 7.
I kind of feel like I don't know what I remember what I gave Gobo, but I'm giving Gobo like a 6 at this point.
Yeah, I think Gobo's sliding down that scale, but since that's not
Yeah.
how our ratings typically work, I at least want to rate her higher than Gobo.
Yes, whatever I rated Gobo a 1.5 higher. That's my official red rating.
So, Sam, it's been 3 weeks since we last recorded.
so long.
I have to imagine you've had some time to enjoy some non-Muppet things over the holidays.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it real short and just talk about it too. I saw Avatar: The Way of Water. Did you see it?
No.
I fucking loved it. But here's why I want to talk about it. I feel like I specifically have a problem with my brain or eyes where I can't see high frame rate stuff good.
Oh.
It doesn't like come into my brain in the way that seeing 24 frame per second stuff does. Like there's just something about it that I can't see right. So it feels like a slideshow to me. And if there's any doctors out there, tell me what's wrong with me, because I really can't absorb it. It's like I'm not even being snobby or anything. It's like something about it looks to me like this is not working. Regardless of that, it was a fun fucking movie. It's just like a movie.
Yeah.
You know, there's some movies these
it was
days
just a movie.
that just aren't like movies. And this movie was like a movie. And I got out of it very excited to see the next one, which apparently, I mean, there's made a bazillion bucks. So there's going to be at least like 5 more of them. But it's beautiful and very stupid in a very charming way that only somebody who really believes in what he's doing can make something stupid. And it was just kind of refreshing to see something so unironic, I guess, and just like there's whales in it that have tattoos. And it's like, how did they get the tattoos? Let's really investigate that question. But no time is ever given to why the whales have tattoos.
Who's out there tattooing whales for fun?
The Na'vi, I guess, but they never are like, look at these cool tattoos we gave these whales. There's really cool action scenes. Like the bad guy robots in this one are so cool. There's like crab robots and like evil submarines and like an evil whaler guy who's like Captain Ahab in space, and it's just very fun. And there's a bunch of the characters in this one are a bunch of little plucky children, including one who's voiced by
Sigourney Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver, there's a voice modulator to make her sound like, "Hey, Dad, how's it going?" And it doesn't work at all because it's like this woman is a 67-year-old woman trying to be a child, and I'm not buying this. The first time she talks, it's just like, "Hello, Father." No, what is this? But she's still a great character, no matter how stupid it is. There's no amount that my brain wouldn't be like, "Wow, okay." So it was really fun. And I can appreciate that it's not for everybody, even though it is kind of for everybody because it made like the 3rd most money of any movie ever made.
My favorite thing is that what you said about it is exactly like the quote that Harry Styles got dragged for when he was doing press about Don't Worry, Darling. He said, my favorite thing about the movie, like it feels like a movie. It feels like a real like go to the theater film movie that you kind of the reason why you go watch something on the big screen.
I think...
That's what you said.
I don't know why he got dragged for that, but Don't Worry, Darling is not a movie. So he's wrong.
I think he was being dragged because people were like, yeah, dude, you made a movie. Calm down. Like it is, obviously it feels like a movie because you made a movie.
Avatar 2 is cinema. It's beautiful. It was just really fun and beautiful. And
I will see it when it comes on Disney Plus. And then like 6 months later.
Which is fine. Seeing it in 3D was cool because there's some really nice, like when they're swimming and you see the fish just like floating around your face.
Yeah.
You're kind of just like, oh. And there were moments where I was like, I understand why people want to live here and get really depressed when the movie's over. To some small extent, I can see that because this ocean looks so nice. But then I also saw Glass Onion, which I thought was kind of just fine.
Oh.
But I said on Twitter, did you see it?
I did.
Surely you saw it. I said on Twitter, and I still believe this, that I feel like it should have been a later movie in his adventures. Because I think, spoiler alert, I think him being like, go blow up this house, feels like something that you have to build up to a little bit. Where I still feel like he would want to control things a little bit. Like, I don't know, that just felt like such an out of left field thing to me. Where in the first one, he's not exactly like fuck rich people, but he is like, fuck rich people. And this one at the end, for him to be like, fuck rich people, would be earned eventually, but I feel like he needed one more adventure where a rich person was a complete piece of shit for him to really be blowing off that steam in a way that I believed. Up until then, I liked it. I just thought the ending was a little bit too far for me.
Interesting. Yeah, see, I love that movie, and I think part of that makes sense to me if he knew he was going to get to make another one. Like, if you go into it and they're like, we're going to let you make 4 of these, guaranteed, no problem, you get the James Cameron seal of approval of, like, you get to make as many as you want forever.
Netflix did say that, though. I thought they gave him a multi-film deal. Maybe not.
I don't remember, but, like, it feels like that kind of thing where it's like, that didn't bother me, but I understand that, like, yeah, it would make a little bit more sense. But I also feel like what this does is it now, like, pushes the Knives Out universe into a different realm where now he can do kind of whatever he wants for the third one, and it won't feel out of place. Like, it could be it could be in space or whatever, and people will be like, yeah, cool.
No, yeah, you're right.
It could be in like an ISS mystery where, like, Benoit Blanc gets sent up by Jeff Bezos to space, and he's like...
starts with, like, a news report that's like, and for some reason, Benoit Blanc, the most famous detective in the world, is also on the space shuttle. Cut to just him in his spacesuit, like, all right, boys, we're going to space, or however he sounds. I don't know. I'm from the wrong part of the South to be able to do that accent. I'm from the swamp. I think I just liked that the first one is a little bit more understated and builds up to being goofy in a way that this one didn't quite as much. But I didn't hate it because I love that character so much that how could you hate Benoit Blanc? He's so fun to hang out with.
When you put Janelle Monáe in anything, and
she was great.
It.
Yeah. And that reveal was really fun.
Yeah.
And then to just think back and be like, oh, that's why she did that. And
no, I immediately wanted to rewatch the movie. To see, like, all the little hints and clues and stuff throughout. Yeah, it was very good. The other thing I watched over the break is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
Oh, I've been meaning to check that out.
It's so good.
It is?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay.
Ewan McGregor as the cricket, top notch.
Sounds... I can't even imagine what that would be.
It's very good.
Is Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yes.
Okay. Does he sound like Obi-Wan Kenobi?
I mean, he sounds like Ewan McGregor.
But is he doing his impression of what's his name? Alec Guinness?
No.
That would be pretty good, though, too, wouldn't it?
He's a little bit more angry as the cricket. But Cate Blanchett is the voice of a monkey. And the monkey does not speak English. The monkey just makes monkey noises, but it's Cate Blanchett. Because apparently, when they were making Guillermo del Toro's horror movie, whatever that was called, I don't remember, he was telling her that he was working on Pinocchio, and she was like, oh my God, you have to let me be in Pinocchio. And he was like, oh, well, all the roles are already
out of parts.
Cast. Nightmare Alley was the name of that movie.
Right.
And it, like, he was like, the only thing you could be is a monkey. And... she's like, I'll do it. I'll be the monkey. And he's like, okay, you could be the monkey. And so she is just the, like, grunts and squeaks and monkey noises of this monkey.
What the hell?
It's amazing. But yes, it's a bit darker and heavier than you might expect going into it.
Well, the original Pinocchio story is fucked up.
And I think this is sort of, I have not read the original to be fair, but I think this sort of is like getting closer to that at least, where it's like, definitely does not stray away from the darker elements of Pinocchio. There are, character deaths. There are fascists. There's a lot going on. Tom Kenny, voice of SpongeBob, is in this movie as the voice of Mussolini.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, does he sound like SpongeBob?
He does not. But I do like that people have joked that Tom Kenny is currently cursed to be in a Pinocchio movie every year of his life until he dies, because he has been in the past 3 years, 3 Pinocchio movies.
How? How have there been 3 Pinocchio movies?
They just keep making this shit, and no one ever really notices, I don't think. Because he was in a movie called Pinocchio, A True Story, where he is the voice of Geppetto, and then he is Mussolini in this one. And then he has another one coming out that I don't remember what that one is called. But yeah, he's Too Many Pinocchios is the story of Tom Kenny's life. But yeah, I would encourage people to go watch Pinocchio. It was also produced, I believe, in part by the Jim Henson Company. Well, before we go, we want to let you know what we'll be watching next time on Commitment. Next time, yep, we're watching more Fraggle Rock. 4 more episodes of season 1. We'll be watching the episodes that aired in March of 1983, which are episodes 9 through 12, entitled The Lost Treasure of the Fraggles, Don't Cry Over Spilt Milk, Catch the Tail by the Tiger, and The Finger of Light.
Ooh, E.T. crossover.
But we need to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. If you're looking for a Commitment enamel pin or information on how to join our Patreon, go to commitment.com.
Hey, we're having some fun over on our Patreon, too. We're going to play some Jackbox games at some point. Maybe we already have.
Yeah, on our Patreon-only live stream hangout things that we do every month. We've been playing a lot of Muppet video games, but we're coming up on the end of playing through all of the Muppet video games, which, 80% bad, I would say, as far as the Muppet video games go.
That might be a bit of a low number.
Yeah, it might be generous. But yeah, we're going to keep playing those. But also, we are going to do some more interactive things with the patrons over there and probably do some Jackbox games and anything else we can figure out how to play.
And other fun stuff eventually.
Yeah.
Or if you make video games, make them up at video game.
If you want to get a hold of us somewhere other than Twitter or Instagram, you can email us at mail@commitment.com. You can also follow this podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr at CommitmentPod. And you can follow me at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.